He was a lonely office worker but gets reincarnated into a magical world with SS rank magic. Shin Wolford was a corporate slave living in modern-day Japan who had no life, so he often worked overtime rather than going out with coworkers for a drink. One night, after doing some more overtime, as he was walking back home, he suddenly spaces out while thinking about the kind of life he was living. He doesn't know this truck cunt coming for him and meets an accident that ends his life and sends him into another world. He is reincarnated in a world filled with magic and mystique, heroes and demons. The very first memory he has is of wreckage from a demon attack, with him being the sole survivor. There he is found by a magician named Merlin, who adopts him. Shin lives as Merlin's grandson and only student in an isolated house in the forest. Thanks to his knowledge and mindset from living in the modern world, he becomes exceptional in everything he does, be it magic or swordsmanship. One day, the 8-year-old Shin enters the forest to hunt their dinner. He hides in a bush and with the help of his wind magic, hunts some unsuspecting chickens. He also catches a wild boar, and after being satisfied with his hunt for the day, he heads home and shows them to Merlin. Merlin is impressed that the boy used wind magic to kill the boar because it is the most effective magic for hunting. He decides to test Shin's magic skill and tells him to light up some wood. Shin happily does that by imagining the combustion process in his mind. He is secretly glad that he doesn't have to shout out incantations to perform magic in this world, or he would die of cringe. Just then, Melita Bowen, his magic year teacher, and Michael Collin, his sword instructor, arrive at the cottage. Melita is a PTA activist and immediately scolds Shin for hunting a boar. She says that it is too dangerous for someone his age, but he explains that it's not all that dangerous considering he wore the magic gear they made together and received good training from Michael. 2 years later, Merlin takes Shin to hunt some demons because he believes that he should fight some strong enemies now. He explains that demons are born when regular animals fail to control the magical energy that flows through them. This leads them to go berserk, and it can happen to humans as well, even though it is quite rare. A long time ago, a human who turned into a demon almost destroyed their nation, but luckily Merlin defeated it, earning the title of the nation's hero. He teaches Shin the search magic spell, which involves spreading the mana from one's body in a very thin layer. When it comes in contact with other magical signatures, the mana reacts and pinpoints their location. Merlin says that it takes a lot of time and mastery over their magic control to pull this off, but Shin shocks him by using it instantly. Using search magic, he is able to observe creatures and people from afar, and then suddenly, he senses a sinister energy coming from a particular direction. Merlin confirms that energy is coming from a demon, and they rush to the location of the demon oozing out a dark aura. Shin draws his sword without hesitation and launches himself towards the demon. Using his sword that vibrates at ultrasonic level and jet boots to move around skillfully, it only takes him a few seconds to slay the demon. Merlin could not even warn him about the dangers by the time Shin has killed the demon, and can only stand there speechless. Shin asks him whether he did a good job, and he says that he might just have beaten the world record for the quickest demon hunt. He then asks the boy what kind of magic did he enchant his sword with. Shin brushes off the question, not wanting to reveal that he has memories from his past life. However, little does he know that Merlin and the others already suspect that he came from an alternate world. The next day, he gets some brutal combat training with Michael. After the training, Merlin takes him to the mountains where he reveals to him how he is not his real grandson and was found in a demon attack wreckage. Shin asks about his real parents, but Merlin explains they were injured beyond recognition. Shin has some faint memories of that day, and he has already come to terms with it. He tells Merlin he only considers him, Michael, and Melinda as his family since they raised him. These words make Merlin burst out in tears like a little baby. On his 15th birthday, a party is thrown for Shin to celebrate his ascent into manhood. There are some special guests in the party, including a man he calls Uncle Dicium, along with his 2 guards, Christina and Siegfried. During the party, they ask Shin what he would do once he became an adult. He states that he'd like to go explore a nearby town because he has never left the forest, and apart from this, he has no goal. Christina suggests he could join the Royal Knights or become a demon hunter. Everyone continues giving suggestions, and then Shin reveals he doesn't know how to use money, and this leaves everyone stunned. It turns out Merlin only taught him magic and nothing else, but the old sage thinks that it will work out somehow. Shin then uses his special spell called Gate that allows him to move to another place using the principles of a wormhole. He transports everyone to the wilderness for a magic test, and Merlin explains how dangerous it'll be for Shin to show off his latest spell in the forest. Merlin tells them to brace themselves and instructs Shin to show off his spell. Shin begins by imagining the fire of a combustible gas and adding more oxygen than usual. The result is a blue flame that shocks everyone, but that is just the beginning. Shin then adds hydrogen and compresses the huge fireball to a single point before shooting it at a hill nearby. The resulting explosion is like a mini nuclear bomb, which is enough to freak everyone out, especially Melinda. This demonstration leads the group to conclude that it will be too risky to let an ace talent like Shin roam free. Dicium notes that he could offset the balance of the nations, leading every king to reach out to him. He suggests Shin enroll in a magic academy, but Merlin doesn't like the idea because then Shin became part of his nation's assets. It turns out Dicium is the king of the Earlshide Kingdom and only Shin has no idea of his position. Christina is a royal guard and Siegfried is a mage escort for the king, and even Michael is the retired commander of the Royal Knights. Shin is shocked by his high-profile social circle and Dicium tells him how he came to know Merlin. He was just a student when the demonoid human wreaked havoc on their nation. Just when he was to be killed by the demon, Merlin and Melinda showed up. Using his magic with her magic gear skill, they defeated the demonoid together. Shin can't believe that they were once in the same party, and he is left dumbfounded when he hears that they were actually a married couple. Dicium then tells Shin that he would be able to learn how the world works and make some friends if he joins the Magic Academy. He assures him that it is a strict meritocracy, and there is no room for influence and nobility privileges. Merlin also realizes that he can't keep Shin trapped with him forever and agrees to let him join the Magic Academy. A few days later, Shin alongside Merlin and Melinda sets out for the capital for his entrance exam. Soon they reach the capital's checkpoint, and the guard freaks out when he sees the IDs of Merlin, the Wise Man, and Melita the Guru. Word of their arrival spreads like wildfire across town, so they hurry to their mansion, where they are welcomed by tons of maids and butlers. Shin goes out to the market and has fun exploring things, but he eventually gets lost in an alley. He suddenly hears the screams of a girl being harassed by 3 adventurers. Shin, disgusted by their behavior, steps in. One of the guys tries hitting him, but he is too slow for Shin and he easily dodges it. He slams the man to the ground in an instant and knocks the second one down with a swift kick. The third guy quickly takes out a dagger and runs towards Shin, but he simply intercepts the dagger with his hand, knocking the man out with a swift punch. Afterwards, the girl asks him if he is hurt anywhere, but Shin reveals he is fine. Her friend also comes to thank Shin, and he falls in love with her at first glance. Over at a cafe, the girls introduce themselves as Maria and Sicilian, and he finds out that they are also taking the Magic Academy entrance exam like him and become friends. Maria, a super fan of the heroes, especially Melita, starts rambling on about them and how their son would also be joining the academy. Shin suddenly becomes uncomfortable and not wanting to reveal his identity, decides to pay for their drinks before taking his leave. On the day of the exam, Shin tries to find his way across the notice board, but a rude noble attempts to grab him by the shoulder. He twists his arm as a safety measure, but the angry boy called Kurt Reetzberg begins riding on his family's position and threatens Shin. Luckily, the crown prince, August, shows up and reminds him of the punishment for using his position as a noble in school, putting him in his place. Kurt decides to simply walk away, as no one wants to have any kind of feud with the royal family. Shin is shocked to find out that he is King Dicium's son. Since he regards him as an uncle, he calls August his cousin, prompting August to laugh at the way he casually addresses the crown prince, but seems to not mind it at all. They all take the written exam in the hall, and afterward, they move to the practical test. Shin is excited to see another mage perform magic, but is shocked when a boy starts chanting. He conjures a tiny flame, but everyone seems impressed, except for Shin, who is mortified. The next candidate doesn't do better, and neither does the next, and Shin can only watch disappointedly. When it gets to his turn, the instructor tells him to keep his powers under control since she got a heads up from the king. Shin reduces his powers to the minimum but still manages to destroy the room. The result is out and both Shin and August passed. They head over to collect their uniforms, which the receptionist reveals have been enchanted with defensive magic. She tells them not to enchant it themselves, so Shin asks if he can let Melita do it, so she agrees. She adds that he was the top scorer of the entrance exam and so he has to give a speech at the entrance ceremony. Shin immediately tries to push the duty to August, but this time, August plays his cards right by reminding him of the rule barring nobility from privileges. At night, Shin decides to overwrite the school's enchantment with a special pen, and goes on to invent his own enchantment that not just acts as a defense but also allows auto-healing and conversion of magic into kinetic energy. Satisfied with his accomplishment, he yells out in excitement, drawing the attention of Melita, who is so shocked that the next day, she makes Shin promise not to reveal that he enchanted his own uniform. At the entrance ceremony, Shin's name is called out for his speech, and the girls finally realize who he is. They had already met the hero's child they've been fussing about. Shin calmly gives his speech while Kurt brims with anger and hate. Shin, August, and the pretty duo are placed in the S-rank class. After homeroom, Sicilian reveals she is being hounded by a man whose family is ranked higher than hers. Shin is glad they told him, but he soon finds out the man is Kurt. He walks in and tries to forcefully grab Sicilian, so Shin stops him. He reveals that they are engaged, so Shin thinks of stepping back. But seeing her trembling in fear, he promises to protect her. She tells him she never agreed to the engagement and that he should stop forcing himself on her. He reminds her his father can make her pay for her defiance, but then August steps and Anne, having heard his threats, promises to report the situation to the king. He manages to make Kurt leave and then begins teasing Shin for showing off in front of a pretty girl like Sicilian. Shin decides they should come home with him since Kurt might pull off something again. Maria immediately agrees since it's an opportunity to meet her idol. August decides to accompany them as well, meeting his escorts. Julius and Thor must also come along. At home, Shin introduces each of his friends to his grandparents. Afterward, he explains her situation and asks for permission to overwrite the enchantment on Sicilian's uniform. Melita then asks Sicilian if she is worthy of the commitment Shin plans to make for her. Although Shin doesn't think much of it, Melita explains that once Shin enchants her uniform, it would become a national treasure that can sell for an unbelievable amount. Sicilian then begins sobbing and reveals she did wrong by taking advantage of his kindness to a stranger like her. She decides to decline the help and leave, but then Melita stops her. She encourages her honesty and allows Shin to re-enchant her uniform. The king also makes everyone swear not to tell a soul about his enchantment since everyone in the military would certainly want a taste. In the end, Shin ends up enchanting everyone's clothes except Maria, who doesn't want the weight of owning a national treasure. The next day, Shin uses his search magic to keep her safe as he walks her to school. She appreciates him, but their early morning romance becomes an eyesore for Maria. In school, a yellow-haired girl comes rushing in just in time for class. The girl named Alice Corner explains that she was so excited about her first day in school that she couldn't sleep. This leaves Shin questioning why the world system even permits a 15-year-old to be an adult. The teacher arrives and immediately takes them out for a tour around the school. He tells them about the different clubs for magic, making potions, and bodybuilding, and admonishes them to join one. Julius really admires the bodybuilding club but knows he can't join. However, August permits him to since it's an opportunity to finally be free from his escorts. When asked what club Shin would like to join, he has no clue. August suggests he form his own club, and the teacher even supports it. Everyone in the class supports the initiative rather quickly, but Thor brings up an important question. What would be the purpose of the club? Alice suggests Shin can tell them about the heroes, but the teacher reveals there's already a fan club for that. They then settle for learning advanced magic with Shin's help and name the club the Ultimate Magic Study Group. The next day in school, the group finds out Kurt was grounded, and when Shin inquires why he acts so aggressively, they explain that he wasn't always like that and only changed when he started frequenting a lab owned by Mr. Shrum. Mr. Shrum was their magic teacher in middle school and had an eye for talent. However, everyone but Kurt didn't associate with him since he acted shady. Sicilian seems to be sad because now that Kurt is no longer a problem, Shin doesn't have to escort her to school by being her Prince Charming, but she is excited to learn that he still wants to walk her every day to school, making her blush. Shin tells them he can usually sense ill intent with his search magic, but everyone seems surprised such a thing is possible. He explains that the magic power of demons is sinister and abnormal, and bad people have a similar vibe. This prompts Lin to ask him if he has hunted a demon before, to which he nods. Everyone is shocked, but even more astonished to find out he was just 10 years old when he killed the 3-meter demonized bear on his own. Just outside the cafeteria, Shin senses a demonic presence, which turns out to be Kurt, who approaches them and immediately attacks them with his flame magic. Shin's barrier barely holds his own, so he tells the group to activate their uniforms with mana. Shin's hands are burned from the intensity of the heat, but his auto-healing kicks in to provide him some relaxation. It dawns on them that Kurt is out for their lives, so they prepare to fight. Kurt continues to disperse a negative aura as he slowly transforms into a demon. Shin immediately asks August to bring the rest to safety while he holds off Kurt. August becomes angry that Shin doesn't see them as capable enough to fight, but Shin tells him that it is for their own safety. August realizes that Shin is right and leads everyone to safety. With no one to distract him, Shin activates his blue flames ready to fight. Kurt attacks explosively, while Shin evades with his gear. He tries to slow Kurt down, but his tiny flames do a lot more damage than anticipated. Kurt gets back on his feet and starts cursing at Shin, surprising him completely as demonoids are not supposed to be capable of speech and reason. He continues to attack him, but Shin evades all of the attacks by taking flight in the air out of his reach. He then uses lightning magic on Kurt, and even though it does some damage, is not enough to stop Kurt. as he continues to go on a rampage while Shin tries to think of a way to save this poor student from dying. Soon, his magic powers start accumulating at such a high rate that he starts to self-destruct. Realizing that the blast radius would destroy the school, Shin brings out his ultrasonic blade and dashes towards him, avoiding his attacks before slaying him. He falls to his knees in the realization that he just killed a person. However, his friends arrive, standing in amazement that Shin emerged victorious against a demon. Shuttram, who was responsible for turning Kurt, his mentee, into a demon, now has his sights on Shin, who stares blankly at the window. With August's arrival, he reveals the circumstances of Kurt's transformation are absurd, and August agrees since Kurt didn't have enough magical knowledge to cast a spell that would mistakenly turn him into a demon. He deduces that it might be artificially induced since Kurt retained his senses, unlike a regular demon. This leads him to conclude that Kurt may have been used for human experimentation. Later that day, they reach home to find the king and his aide waiting for Shin, and he is conferred a first merit honor for averting a crisis. He is surprised, but Merlin confronts Dicium, who quickly explains that the incident had already spread throughout the nation, and that withholding the award of a hero from him wouldn't sit well with the masses. He once again promises to keep Shin out of political matters, leaving Merlin no choice but to agree. The next day, Shin becomes the talk of the town, and this makes walking around rather uncomfortable as all the girls also have their sights on him, but Scissorlium's presence makes them think he is taken. Meanwhile, in school, everyone rushes to join Shin's club, so the teacher is worried about whether to put a cap on the number of students that can join a club. He decides to make the minimum requirement for joining the club the ability to use other dimensional storage space. In the end, only 2 students passed. Mark Bean, who is the son of a blacksmith, and his childhood friend Olivia Stone, whose family owns a diner. It turns out Alice and the ladies are big fans of their diner, so Olivia promises to reserve a table for them. Shin also reveals that he would like to have a custom weapon, but Mark tells him he can barely make a knife as of now, so Shin will have to wait. Mark thinks a demon-killing sword must be exceptional, but Shin explains he used a regular sword enchanted to vibrate at ultrasonic speed, but since they are thin, they break easily, so he explains he wants to make some adjustments. Yuri, his classmate and an enchanter, remarks how outstanding Shin's talent is, but he encourages her. He volunteers to introduce her to Melita, and she quickly takes him up on the offer. Afterward, Striffram is brought in for questioning by the Order of Knights. However, it becomes clear that he is under heavy suspicion. After being surrounded and unable to prove his innocence, he drops the act, revealing his true villainous nature. He explains that he has been conducting human experiments, and now that they are over, he is ready to escape. The group stumbles onto the battle scene, with Strum at the center of it all. Once he begins confessing to demonizing Kurt, Shin dashes at him with his sword and flames simultaneously. He blocks the attack and manages to evade all of the strikes while Shin continues to slash, but he gets nowhere with his sword strikes. He uses earth magic to get him in the air in a virtually inescapable position. However, Stretchram can use floating magic. Shin unexpectedly lifts himself towards him with his gear and lands a strike. He follows up with intensely hot flames, leading Strum to push him back with a powerful surge. Unfortunately, his glasses get broken and everyone finds out he is a demon with perfect control over reason. He boasts about how he has attained a peak where humans are nothing but playthings. This angers Shin, who launches an impulsive attack. Strum thinks he missed, but in reality he was just buying time to activate a devastating spell by concentrating sunlight. Shin activates the spell and dozens of beams of concentrated sunlight pierce the roof and hit Strum, and then result in a huge explosion. As the explosion dies down, Shin finds that the surroundings have turned to glass because of the heat from the concentrated sunlight, but despite the damage, he has his doubts about Strim's survival. He is thanked by the head court magician, Rupert Olbram, and Knight Commander Dominic Gaster for his help. They then ask how he created such a spell, but when he began explaining the concept, even the court mage couldn't keep up. The next day, Shin and his friends head out to the blacksmith shop run by Mark's family. Everyone is cheerful, but Shin is still gloomy because he believes that Strum is still alive. August is shocked to hear this, and Shin explains that his attack that concentrated sunlight created glass craters on the floor and there were no explosions. He thinks that the huge explosion was caused by Strum to distract them so that he could escape safely. August thinks this theory makes sense, so he asks Shin to order everything he wants at the smithy and the royal family will cover the bill for him. The prince says that since Shin is the only one who can fight against Stritram, they need to equip him with the best gear. They soon reach the blacksmith shop where Mark and Olivia are waiting to welcome them. The girls take away Olivia for some girls' talk, while the boys go inside the smithy. Mark's dad is not happy about so many people walking into his workshop, But when August introduces himself, he immediately falls to his knees along with all his workers. After that, August introduces Shin to him, and he freaks out once again as he learns that he is the grandson of the great sage and the new hero. He is eager to make a weapon for a hero like him, and Shin tells him the details of the order. They leave the smithy after that and find that Sicilian and Maria have run Olivia ragged. Shin then looks at the workshop and asks if they sell other things too. Mark tells him that the second floor of their shop sells housewares and the third floor has accessories. Shin immediately asks Sicilian if she would like to buy some accessories, and she turns red, thinking that he's going to buy a ring for her. However, all he wanted was to buy an accessory that he could enchant with defensive magic for her safety, and she is disheartened by it. Bothered by her reaction and the judgmental stares of his friends, Shin takes Sicilian to accessory shopping immediately. She asks him to choose one for her, and he picks an expensive ring. He puts it on her middle finger and then holds her hand as he tells her that this ring will keep her safe in his place. Some days later, Shin is dressed for his award ceremony. He is presented to the royal court and applauded by high-ranking nobles. He is then conferred his medal by the king, and afterwards, he announces to the court that Shin must not be used for military or political purposes. He explains that the consequence of breaking the agreement was the departure of Merlin and his family from their nation. The next day, Shin startles everyone by arriving at school with his gate magic. He explains that he had to escape the mob of fans at his house. He explains to a curious Lin how the concept of his gate lies in reducing the distance between two locations rather than regular teleportation. Of course, she doesn't understand, so he encourages her by revealing that Merlin himself can't wrap his head around the concept. He then suggests the group level up since the capital is becoming less safe. He explains that they first need to learn the amount of magic they all have. Contrary to the regular belief that higher level spells mean incantations, Shin notes that everything boils down to the amount of magic that is the fuel for spells. First, he examines Maria's barrier, which seems very thin. He then asks Sicilian to make a barrier using the enchanted accessory he gifted her. When she does, the barrier is thicker and firmer since the ring has been enchanted with his precise control of magic. Shin decides to demonstrate the amount of magic he can control to the group, but the density is so strong that almost everyone suffocates from the pressure. Shin tells them that until they can reach this level of magic control, they don't really have any chance fighting against demons. Later, he takes everyone to his home, and his friends are really excited to meet the legendary sage and the guru. Shin explains to his grandparents that there was another crowd in front of the school gate, and Merlin laughs, telling him that it is the price of being a celebrity. He then learns that Shin is training his friends in his study club now. The students ask Merlin if he was the one who taught Shin the strange magic spells he uses, and he replies that he just taught him the basics and the boy reinvented magic for himself. Merlin says that normally magicians focus on visualizing the result of their spell, but Shin focuses on the process. He asks the students if they know how fire burns, but they know nothing about combustion at all. Well, neither does Merlin, but he knows that his grandson asks such curious questions to himself, and that is how he improves his magic. Then suddenly, Merlin uses the gate magic, much to Shin's surprise. The old sage laughs, saying that while it was initially hard for him to understand, he finally understood the principles behind it and succeeded in mastering this spell. He tells the students that Shin is not the only one who can use this magic. Merlin believes that if anyone understands the principles well and visualizes the process accurately, they can do similar magic, and everyone gets a spark of confidence. Lin took that confidence to practice, and the next day, she comes to school covered in bruises and scorched hair. Shin asks her what happened, and she replies that she was practicing magic control, but it got out of hand and resulted in a small explosion. Shin is worried about her, but Lin says that this is nothing new for her, because her dad is the court magician. Later, Shin and his friends go to Mark's smithy, and the first prototype of his special swords is ready. Just by pulling the trigger, the blade is ejected from the hilt and a new blade can be inserted there. Tony, the guy who gave Shin this idea in the first place, is quite impressed with the performance, and so is August. He asks Shin will he mind it if they use the special swords in their army. August specifies that he is not talking about the ultrasonic blade, but about the sword with replaceable blades. He thinks that by doing that, they can keep their military budget down and improve their strength, which is going to be needed soon because there are chances of war with the neighboring Blusvia Empire. Other students also know this, and they believe that if the war stretches on, he will also be enlisted. August tells them not to worry about it just yet, and assures Shin that the country will keep their promise to him and not drag him into the war. However, Shin replies that even if they don't draft him, he won't sit back idly when his friends are in danger, and thus he will join the battle to protect them. Meanwhile, Strum survived and has already put his plans into motion. He uses his minions to instigate the Emperor of the Blustia Empire into a war with the Earlshide Kingdom, proclaiming that they are already facing trouble with demons. However, when the Empire's forces attack the Earlshide Kingdom, they find that their enemies were ready for them. The Blustia army loses badly in the war, and then the Emperor receives news that demons have been spotted in his capital. The Emperor instantly retreats, but by the time he arrives at the capital, it has been ravaged by the demons under Shrum. As the Emperor reaches his throne room, he finds Shrum waiting for him there. He declares that he wanted to kill him personally, and before the king can call for help, Shrum binds him using magic and then blasts him into oblivion. Soon, Lord Gaster and Rupert arrive at the capital to defeat the Emperor for once and forever, but instead they are welcomed by a party led by Shrum and his demon army. They immediately retreat and report their finding to the king, who realizes that they have a greater problem than war at their hands now. The Earlshide Kingdom is placed on high alert, and even the school moves to improve everyone's combat prowess. And so joint training with the Order of Knights is announced. The whole class immediately falls into depression since knights and magicians don't have a friendly relationship. The knights call the magicians sprouts since they are weak, while they in turn call the knights muscle brains since they are very physical. Shin tries to make them see why it's necessary to complement each other, but he is attacked since he can fall into either category. Once he reveals he was trained by Michael, everyone loses their cool since he is considered a sword saint. In the end, he fails to convince them to work harmoniously with the knights. During the joint exercise, they are to exterminate demons in the forest. Everyone is gathered outside the city gates, and Shin is in a team with August, Sicilian, and Maria. Immediately after the knights arrive, they begin talking down on the rumored hero Shin, who they think will slow them down. In the cart, they all introduce themselves, and Shin asks if they have fought a demon before, but they immediately take his question as an offensive statement. He reveals that failure to work together meant certain death. However, the knights boast highly about their capabilities. When August cuts in, they pretend to agree to work together, although he doesn't buy it. He instructs Shin not to defeat any demons so the knights can have enough opportunity to show off their skills and learn how useless they are without magicians supporting them. Arriving at the designated area, they are welcomed by their supervisors, Christina and Siegfried. Shin pleads with them not to bicker, but it turns out there's no helping it. Suddenly, Maria and the female knights start simping over Siegfried, while the rest of the knights do the same with Christina. Shin had no idea they had such a fan following, but August tells him that they are obviously very popular since they are strong enough to guard the king. August explains to the supervisors the prior agreement of letting the knights fight alone at first, and they give their approval because they know it will be good for the knights to know of their limits early on. The knights keep their guards up despite Shin's note that there's no demon around. When he finds a demon, Siegfried instructs them to get ready for battle. The raging boar charges in, but all Shin can think about is how tasty it would have been if it hadn't been demonized. The knights stand their ground despite the size of the demon. However, their attacks are futile as the demon is too fast for them. It destroys their formation and circles back to finish them off. Just then, Shin swoops in with his sword and beheads the monster with a single slash. They get the scolding of their lives, and Christina makes sure to make them realize how weak they are. Afterward, Sicilian heals their wounds, so they all agree to work together. They treat Sicilian like a goddess, and this somehow annoys not only Shin but the female knight, who has never been treated like a delicate princess. Just then, some knights run in to report that over 100 demons were heading their way. However, Shin volunteers to take care of them on his own. The others are instructed to stay out of his way, giving him space to prepare his atomic bomb spell. Everyone freaks out when they see a catastrophe-class demon leading the charge. However, Shin sends a single blast that levels the forest along with every obstacle in front of him. Finally, witnessing Shin's magic leaves everyone awestruck. The woman goes on to apologize for her previous rudeness. She even apologizes to Sicilian, thinking they are a couple. They both begin to blush and make it pretty obvious to everyone around them that they are in love. Soon after this, the group finally starts working like a team. They encounter a bear demon, and while the knights form the first line of defense, the magicians start attacking the bear with fireballs. The bear demon is agitated and distracted by the fire, giving the knights the chance to attack it. Shin defends them from the bear's attacks using a magic barrier, and the knights attack it from all sides and finish it. Sicilian reaches out to heal them after that, and the knights still simp over her despite knowing that she belongs to another man. Siegfried and Tristina are impressed by their improving teamwork, and then Siegfried asks Shin what the reason is behind the improvement of his friends because they are equal to court magicians in power. Shin explains that they have formed a study group to practice magic as he learned from Merlin, while he also teaches them how to visualize things properly. Siegfried is curious about the study group, and he wants to learn under Shin as well, but August stops him. He claims that since he is a member of the military, learning Shin's magic will be a violation of their promise to Merlin. Not only that, since Shin's magic is too strong, it may destroy the world if it falls into the wrong hands. August even lectures Shin about being careful not to spread his magic knowledge any further. Siegfried accepts his warning and then requests to be at least allowed to practice the basics as taught by Merlin. August tells him that it is ridiculously simple, and all he has to do is practice his magic control every day, which will make him stronger over time. Siegfried finds it hard to believe, so August calls Sicilian and Maria to demonstrate their progress. He asks them to create magic barriers just like Shin has taught them to, and they do so. Their magic barriers are too thick and sturdy, and Siegfried finds it unbelievable. August says that this is easy by practicing their magic control daily, and Maria says that it is still far thinner than Shin's shield. She laughs, saying that they can never reach the level of the sage's grandson after all, but Siegfried tells her to believe in herself because she is special. Her words are enough to raise the forever single Maria out of her mind, and then Siegfried declares that he will also practice magic control. Shin then wonders how his friends are doing in their groups. In another location within the forest, Mark, Olivia, Tony, and Julius are together with some knights. One knight is particularly hostile towards Tony because they used to be friends in middle school, but then Tony left him and joined the Magician Academy. Suddenly, a wolf demon attacks them, and the knight runs forward to face it alone. Despite the supervisor's warning that it is not safe, other knights also rush ahead, but then more wolf demons attack them. The knights are in a pinch now, but Tony and other magicians help them out by shooting the demons down from a distance. The supervisor is stunned when he sees that the demons have been thoroughly destroyed and only craters are left on the ground. Tony approaches his former friend, who still gives him the cold shoulder. His friends ask if there is another reason for this hostility, and Tony thinks for a while before realizing another thing. The knight here had a crush on a girl, but she confessed to Tony instead, and they dated for a short while, which pisses him off even more. Another group is made up of Lynn, Alice, Yuri, and Thor. The knights come up with all kinds of misogynistic remarks to tease them. However, when they are attacked by a bunch of small dog demons, they reveal how pathetic they are. The girls run out of patience, seeing their weakness, and they take care of the demons with their magic. Lynn's magic goes out of control, and it suddenly explodes, dealing damage to her party as well. Later, everyone gathers back at the city gate, and Shin finds Lynn's group with fizzled hair and learns that they couldn't control their powers. He also sees the rift between Tony and his former friend. Other students ask Shin what happened on his side, and Maria says that Shin and Sicilian were flirting with each other throughout the mission. Both of them blush at that, and then Maria puts aside the jokes as she says that with Shin backing them, their training went very well. August takes the stage with this and says that everyone in their study group except Shin will be placed under national supervision once they graduate. He believes that they will form a special unit directly under his control, but even then, other nations may try to get them on their side. Shin apologizes to his friends for changing their lives so drastically, but they are actually happy about it. They think that is a wonderful thing that they have an elite job guaranteed before even graduating. Everyone asks Shin to teach them even more, and he realizes that if they are going to become a special unit capable of saving the world, they need to be much stronger. A few days later, Shin takes the girls in his study group to practice their magic in the barren mountains. Their display of power is terrifying, and August remarks that it is almost like a live exercise by the National Magic Division. Shin tells him that he brought them to this location because he is quite familiar with it, and no one will be here to watch them. After the training is over, August addresses everyone and tells them some new information about the demons. He claims that it is still a state secret, but all the people here no longer qualify to be just general citizens. Once the war with demons starts, it will be an important part of the army and must know about their enemies as much as they can. August then reveals that right now, demons are wreaking havoc on the Blusvia Empire and have done irreparable damage to towns and villages alike, and both nobles and commoners have been massacred. Despite knowing this, the Earlshire Kingdom cannot go into war with the demons without due preparation, and the worst thing of all is that the number of demons keeps growing. Shin is certain that Strum is behind all this, and he knows that if they have to face him properly, they need to take extra measures. So he tells his friends that they are going to organize a training camp soon. He says that they will organize the training and practical lessons in this mountain range, and they must look for a place to stay and relax nearby. After putting all their ideas on the table, Maria suggests that they go to Sicilian's place because her family owns a hot spring. Shin likes the idea and immediately agrees to it. Later, he tells his grandparents about their training camp, and they are supportive of it. However, Melita wants to know who is supervising them. Shin asks her what the need is for that, and she yells at him that teenage boys and girls cannot be left alone under the same roof without supervision. While she appears to be old-fashioned, she is only doing this to volunteer to be the supervisor and have some fun at the hot springs, and Merlin decides to tag along. The next morning, Merlin and Melita reach the school gate, where all the students are ready to leave for their training camp. They travel in carriages drawn by horses, who have special harnesses that give them natural air conditioning and fatigue relief. Shin doesn't even know that things like these exist, and he is surprised to learn that Melita was the one who invented them. The old lady basks in their praise as they say that Melita broke from the norm and created pieces of magic gear that are used for peace and prosperity rather than warfare. Soon after that, Shin suddenly notices the presence of demons nearby, and his friends have also felt that. They come across a group of merchants surrounded by mid-sized wolf monsters, and everyone wants to take part in subjugating them. So Shin takes out a cup containing chopsticks to select the correct contestant by drawing sticks. Lin wins the first draw, and she blows away the entire pack of wolf demons with a powerful wind spell. Shin tells her that if she reins in her magic power a bit, she can release her spell more quickly. Soon after that, they reach the hot spring city of Claude and arrive at Sicilian's mansion. Sicilian's manager and servants welcome everyone, and they have already accepted Shin as their future son-in-law. Later, they take a dip in the hot water, and Merlin thanks the boys for becoming friends with Shin, as he never had any friends his age before coming to the academy. In return, August thanks Merlin, saying that he too never had a friend who treated him informally before Shin. He is glad that Shin treats him just like he wants, and others also join in to give their testimonies about the impact Shin had on their lives. The next morning, everyone begins their magic control training under Merlin's supervision. He gives them tailored advice according to their performance, and as always, Lin releases too much magic that she cannot control. This time, Merlin tells her to stop and protects everyone from getting caught in her explosion. Following that, Melita also gives the students some lectures about magic gear and enchanting techniques. Next, Shin takes them to the mountain range for their practical training, and the students blast magic spells without chanting. Melita thinks that they are already strong enough to put the Department of Magic out of commission, but Shin and Merlin think that they still need improvement. Shin knows that if they have to fight an army of demons led by Shishram, everyone here, including him, must grow stronger. However, others don't take his words lightly and immediately put up their magic barriers to protect themselves from the shockwave of the new spell Shin is going to try out. He first visualizes some highly combustible gas to create blue fireballs and then combines them into a giant fireball. After that, he creates a tornado around the fireball as he points it forward. Until now, Shin had used this powerful spell as a wide-area attack, but this time, he plans to control its direction and make it a pinpoint damage dealer. He releases the attack when its power and control are perfected, and it destroys everything in its path. While Shin is happy that his new technique worked, Melita hits him hard with her fan while calling him a fool. She asks him why the hell did he need a technique that was powerful enough to destroy 3 hills in a row. Shin nervously says that he didn't think it would be so powerful, but she is not satisfied with her answer. Other students are also terrified of his power, and no one believes when Shin tries to tell them that it is not a big deal. The class is dismissed for the day, and while everyone is traveling back home, August asks Shin to use the gate spell and take him to the castle so that he can get updates on the war situation. Shin obliges and takes him to the castle, where a moody blonde girl is waiting for the prince. August gets nervous as he sees her, and then tells Shin that the girl is his fiancée, Ellie. She introduces herself to Shin politely, and then starts lashing out at August for going to the camp and leaving her alone. August's younger sister, May, also arrives just then, and she completely agrees with her future sister-in-law. Although she doesn't miss her brother as much, she's upset at him because he is camping out with Guru Melita, who is her idol. August teases her and May gets upset, but when she notices Shin, she gets even more flustered. She introduces herself to him as Melita's great fan, and Shin finds her cute. August asks the 2 girls what they are doing here, and they declare that they are coming with him to the training camp. He is not ready to take them along to the place since he deems it dangerous, and he yells that they will never get permission from the king. He is proved wrong instantly, as his dad tells him to take his fiancée and younger sister to the camp. While August is distraught at this, Shin just snickers because he is going to have fun teasing him later. Shin takes them to the hot spring city using a gate, and May is super excited to see that they are in a completely different city within seconds. August scolds her for getting too carried away, and Shin holds out his hand for her. May takes it, and August tells her to listen to everything Shin says and not get away from him. He then turns to Ellie and tells her that she can stay at the camp, but there will be no one to pamper her here. She replies that it is fine because she is here just to make sure that there is no distraction in his life here. Shin thinks that Ellie is jealous of the girls that are with them in the camp, but she replies that she is not worried about the girls. The one who is the cause of her worries is actually Shin, because every moment she spends with August, he only talks about him. Shin is immediately disgusted at the thought of Ellie imagining that something is going on between him and August. However, the prince has a way with words and he tells his friends that she's the only one for him. For him, Shin is a male friend with whom he can freely horse around, and since that is a new experience, he gets carried away sometimes. Ellie is moved by his words and decides to stop being angry at August. They go to a restaurant to eat and August tells her that Shin already has a girlfriend and he gets nervous. August tells him to stop being a wimp and make his position with Sicilian clear, because it is obvious to everyone that they are both in love with each other. Shin is still doubtful and asks what will happen if his observation turns out to be wrong and his relationship with Sicilian worsens. In response, August asks him if he is happy with the way things are right now. He asks him if he plans to make a girl come out and profess her feelings for him first because he is a coward. Shin's mind is full of doubt as he hears this, and even when they return to the mansion, he is lost in his thoughts. Ellie and May tell Sicilian that Shin was talking only about her on their way here, and they make a really cute couple. Both of them blush on hearing this, and Shin tries his best to shush up the two girls. After that, Ellie and May greet the old power couple. May gets flustered as she sees Melita in person, and Shin informs her that the girl is her huge fan. She approaches May on her own and finds her quite cute. Melita says that she wishes Shin could have been this adorable in his childhood too, but he was just a troublemaker who could never be left alone. Everyone agrees with her, and they wish that their kids are not as troublesome as him. Shin is dejected, but then Sicilian says that she doesn't agree with them. She claims that their kids will surely be wonderful, and then immediately turns red as she realizes what she just said. As everyone teases her for planning so far in the future, Sicilian is flustered and runs away. August tells Shin that this should make it clear that Sicilian is really into him and he has to agree with him now. Later that night, as Shin is taking a walk, he finds Sicilian sitting by herself. He approaches her, but neither of them knows what to talk about. After a while of awkwardness, Sicilian apologizes for the thoughtless words she spoke earlier, and Shin replies that he was a bit happy to hear that. They start reminiscing about their first meeting after that, and Shin admits that the first time he saw her, he felt a lightning strike his heart. She coyly replies that she also thought he was a very handsome man. Upon hearing this, Shin finally has enough courage to profess his love to Sicilian, and she starts crying tears of joy on hearing it. She replies that she also loves him, and Shin asks her to become his girlfriend. She readily agrees and they lean in for a kiss. However, their friends were snooping in on them, and they fell out of their hiding place at the last moment, preventing their first kiss. Not only his friends, but his grandparents are also there to witness him finally become a real man. He then declares that he and Sicilian are now dating, and Sicilian's manager also pops out of the bushes to congratulate them. August also congratulates Shin, but asks him not to be so swept up in the romance that he neglects the training. Shin asks why he set him up for this then, and August replies that because it is a general trope in stories that a man who delays his confession because of war never survives to do so. The next day, everyone arrives at the beach and Shin tells them that they are not here for fun, but for training. Well, the training is just beach ball for the industry standard fan service, plus the additional rule that they can use magic on the ball. The game starts and Alice throws the ball high in the sky before leaping up after it using the physical reinforcement spell. She hits it downwards using her full power, but Olivia receives it well. Thor sets up the ball for Tony to spike it with wing magic. August lifts it up with his wind magic, and then Lynn jumps up and hits the ball with the flame spell. The flaming ball goes straight towards Yuri, who tries to use a water shield but fails to stop the ball and concedes the first point for her team. While everyone else is also fired up to play the game, Shin wonders if it is so easy to become good at volleyball. Suddenly, a stray fire shot comes towards Ellie and May, but Merlin quickly blocks it using his magic barrier and saves the girls. While Melina lectures the culprits behind the stray shot, Merlin believes that this game is a nice way to train their control and tells them to resume playing. After playing the game all day, everyone gathers up in the mansion at night. Shin learns that everyone here has already met August and Ellie when they were 5. Royals and nobles have a party when their kids turn 5, and everyone of the same age group is invited there. They start talking about parties, their love stories, and their relationships when Shin suddenly notices something and tells everyone to quiet down. Moments later, Melita barges into their room and tells them to go to sleep early because tomorrow they have to train again. However, the lights are out and everyone is hiding in the beds. They are almost about to get away with it, but somehow Shin and Sicilian ended up in the same bed, and she could not keep her moaning and panting under control because of his touch. Thanks to that, Melita finds him and everyone out, and they get scolded badly. The next morning, the two lovebirds encounter each other in the hallway and turn red as they recall their steamy moments last night. Shin tries to steer the conversation by saying that they should go get some breakfast, but before that, Sicilian has a favor to ask of him. She wants him to meet her parents and declare their relationship to them before her dad leaves for work. Shin thinks this is a good idea, but as soon as he is in front of Sizilian's parents, he falls short of words. However, he gathers all his courage and politely tells them that he is dating their daughter and they are here to seek their blessings. Shin is afraid that her parents will not take this news kindly, but contrary to his beliefs, Sizilian's dad holds his hands and thanks him for choosing his daughter. Shin is dumbfounded by this reaction, but Sizilian's mom tells her husband to calm down a bit. She has a question for Shin before she can accept him as her daughter's boyfriend. She says that they are a noble family, and a daughter of a noble family cannot be permitted to date without being engaged to her lover. She asks Shin if he is ready to be engaged to her, and he confidently affirms. With that, both of Sizilian's parents accept him as her boyfriend. Soon after that, they return to the mountains to train and find Tony and Thor spamming fireballs continuously. Ellie is shocked to see this, but Shin tells her that this is just a warm-up. Merlin approaches her and May and asks them if they are also interested in training a bit. Ellie refuses because she has zero talent for magic, but May is interested. Merlin starts her lesson with some basic magic control, and it turns out that May has a lot of potential. Both Merlin and Melita praise her, and that makes all the girls jealous. Lynn decides that she will not lose to anyone and concentrates her magic, but once again, she overdoes it and explodes. After that, Shin decides to create a new type of magic, and his friends hide behind magic barriers because they don't trust his experiments to be safe for them. As Shin picks up a stone, they reinforce their magic barriers, but he tells them that there is really no need to worry because he is not creating offensive magic now. Shin then releases a great amount of magic and starts pouring it into the rock. He uses his newly created spell and suddenly, the rock starts floating in the air. Shin exclaims that it is a success and everyone else can't believe their eyes. They ask him to elaborate on his new spell and Shin says that it is anti-gravity or levitation magic. No one understands the modern science jargon, but they agree that Shin did something amazing. However, he tells them that this was just a teaser and the real show is yet to start. Shin casts the anti-gravity spell on himself and floats in the air, and then he uses wind magic to move around. He laughs because even though he cannot control it fully yet, it is fun, and everyone else is dumbfounded. Shin gets down and says that since Shekshram also used this kind of floating magic, he developed it to counter him. Later that night, Shin tells his grandparents that he is engaged to Sizilian. They are surprised by this sudden news, and Shin apologizes for not informing them about it earlier. Sizilian tries defending him and taking the blame, but Melita and Merlin have no problem with it. On the contrary, they were expecting this to happen sooner or later. However, before making their engagement public, Melita wants to meet Sizilian's parents, so they immediately visit them. There, Merlin and Melita reveal that they have no blood ties with Shin. They wanted to inform Sizilian's parents about this matter because they believe one of the main reasons they accepted Shin was because he was their grandson. In response, Sizilian's dad says that he is disappointed in Merlin and Melita for thinking so little of his family. He says that the reason they agreed to this engagement was not because Shin is their grandson, but because he values Sizilian highly and constantly tries to keep her safe. Shin and his grandparents are really happy to hear this, and they thank Sizilian's parents. After that, Shin thanks his grandparents for raising him well, and both of them get emotional hearing that. A few days later, Shin presents new outfits to all members of his group. These new clothes have advanced defensive enchantments, camouflage options, and temperature control. Everyone realizes that their uniforms are now beyond the national treasure level. Shin then tells them that he has not put any special enchantments on their boots because it is tricky to use them otherwise. Only August is smart enough to realize that Shin is giving them the upgraded uniforms because today's training is going to be dangerous. Everyone panics on hearing this, and Shin says that today they are going to organize actual combat training by taking down a catastrophe-class demon. No one is confident about being able to do so, but Shin assures them that they are already strong enough, and on top of that, their uniforms will ensure that they don't get seriously injured. May complains that she also wants to join them, but August forbids it since today's training is really dangerous. As the girl doesn't stop fussing about it, Shin gets an idea. He creates a primitive telephone using paper cups and demon spider silk and tests it out by talking to May after going into another room. He tells her that she can keep practicing how to use the telephone while everyone's out training. Suddenly, Melita reaches May's location, and as soon as she sees the telephone, she lashes out at Shin for creating something out of this world again. He gets tired of her nagging, so he hangs the telephone over a statue and runs away with his friends. They enter the forest, and Sizilian uses sensory magic to pinpoint the location of a catastrophic class demon. It turns out to be a demonized lion, and Shin says that it is slow but powerful. Sizilian says that they should use range attacks to fight it, and he pats her head to compliment her. The singles among the group are not happy to see them flirting happily, so Shin quickly moves on to business. Julius, Yuri, Mark, Sicilian, and Olivia are put in a team to fight the demon lion. August is worried because all of them usually shine in supporting roles, but Shin believes that they are strong enough to defeat the demon. The lion notices them, and Shin gives them the command to get ready. Everyone activates their magic, and on Shin's signal, they shoot it towards the demon lion. As the multi-element attacks hit the lion from all sides, it realizes that it is screwed. A giant explosion rocks the entire forest, and Shin realizes that sending 5 people to fight a mere catastrophe-level demon was overkill, because now there's just a crater where the demon used to be. Shin then says that if the supporting fighters can do this, their main damage dealers can probably defeat a demon of this level on their own. So if they do just that, everyone finds a catastrophe-level demon and defeats it individually. Tony has even learned how to use the ultrasonic blade from Shin, and everyone is impressed. Later that evening, Shin gets dressed up because it is his engagement party. Sicilian comes to his room to receive him, and he can't take his eyes off her. They get too lost in each other's eyes, but then Sicilian's mom arrives there and tells them to come downstairs because the guests are waiting. They receive a warm welcome from their friends and family, and even the king is there to act as a witness and to congratulate them. Later that night, Shin and Sicilian go out to the balcony, where he takes out an engagement ring from his pocket and formally proposes to her. Sicilian offers him her hand, and he puts the ring on her finger. And with that, they finally kiss. The next day, Shin teaches his whole group to fly. He just casts the anti-gravity magic on them, and they use their wind magic to control their flight. He has also invented the loudspeaker, and he connects it to the telephone he created earlier to inform his friends to come down because now it is time for the second batch to fly in the air. Meanwhile, in the Blussia Empire, Shuttram and his demon army have finally destroyed every town and village methodically. He receives this news from his trusted lieutenants, Zest and Miria. Miria thinks about how the demon squad led by Zest attacked merchant groups, making food scarce and more costly. While the nobles kept on living lives of luxury, the common people starve, and Shrum used their resentment to turn them into demons. Those demons then massacred the nobility and destroyed nearby towns, bringing the empire to ruin. Miria is not completely on board with Shrum's ways of doing things. Although she understands his hatred for nobles, she doesn't like that many commoners have lost their lives in his war. Soon after that, Shrum calls a meeting of all the demons under his control. He thanks them for laying the Blussia Empire to waste, and the demons rejoice. However, Shrum claims that his goal was to overthrow the empire, and now that it has happened, he has nothing else to do. The demons are not happy to hear this, and they declare that they should keep conquering nearby kingdoms and take over the world. Shrum says that they can do what they want, but he doesn't share their ambitions. One demon decides to go off on his own, and Shrum tells him that he is completely free to do that. He even encourages other demons to leave if they have any ambitions. After many of them have left, Miria asks Shrum why he hates the Empire so intently, because she has heard that he once was an imperial duke himself. Shrum realizes that he has never shared his life story with them, and thinks that this is the correct time to do so. He says that the story started 2 years ago when he was a normal human. He was a duke, but despite his noble standing, he often mingled with the common people and helped them in farming. His territory was prospering under his visionary policies, and his wife was soon due to give birth to their first child. However, because of his favorable policies towards the commoners, Shrum made many enemies, including the man who would later become the emperor of the Blussia Empire. The nobles were not happy about Shrum's increasing wealth and influence, so the future emperor suggested a plan. He asked the nobles to summon Shrum to the capital and keep him here as long as they could, and in that time, he would bring about his downfall. Soon after that, Shrum received a letter from other nobles stating that they were also eager to adopt his lenient policies. He was overjoyed as he read the letter and decided to visit the meeting they were holding about the policies. His wife was worried because she knew how some nobles were jealous of her husband, but Shtretrim was one of the best magicians in the whole empire, and he was confident that he could handle anything. A few days after Shrum left his territory, people began vanishing all of a sudden, and the nobles planted rumors about them being kidnapped and being sold off as slaves by the Duke. More and more people started believing the rumors that painted Shrum as a villain. A few weeks later, they even staged a kidnapping, and the fake police sent by nobles showed the commoners some kidnapped girls in a wagon belonging to Shrum. This enraged the public, and they decided to take matters into their own hands. They set Shrum's mansion on fire, with his pregnant wife still inside it. When Shrum returned to his territory, he was devastated by the sight of his burning house. He was heartbroken as he saw his dead wife and asked the townspeople why they had done this cruel act. They blamed him for kidnapping people and selling them off as slaves, and they told him that the imperial police showed them concrete evidence. That was the moment Shrum realized that the nobles had plotted against him to destroy him. He lost his mind as he cursed the people who repaid his kindness with this evil deed and the empire that let the vile nobles do as they pleased in his territory. He was overpowered by his grief and rage, and dark energy started swarming around him. Strum declared that he would destroy the people and the empire, and then he turned into a demon. Just with his transformation into a demon, he released enough energy to completely destroy his town. Strum laughed at the end of the destruction and swore that he would destroy the Blusvia Empire, from the emperor to the last commoner. After hearing his story, Zest thinks that since their master has achieved his goal of destroying the empire, he needs something else to do now. That is why he tells his assistant to attack a small kingdom near Earlshide, because that would force Shin to come out and fight them. Meanwhile, in the capital of Earlshide, the coronation ceremony of Prince August is being held when suddenly, a messenger arrives there with the news of demons being spotted near their border. The public panics on hearing this, but August tells them to calm down because they have a special unit that is perfectly capable of taking down the demons. He then calls Shin to take the stage with him and introduces him to the public as the new hero who stopped a demon attack in the Magic Academy. August says that they have grown stronger thanks to him, and then he removes his cloak to reveal the battle uniform he is wearing underneath it. He then tells Shin to address the public and give them a performance that calms their hearts, and he also asks him to come up with a cool name for their group. The first part of the request is easy, but Shin struggles while coming up with a name, so he declares that they are ultimate magicians, which everyone finds cringeworthy. With that, Shin casts the floating magic on everyone, and they fly towards the border to take care of the demons. Right now in the small neighboring kingdom, the Knight Commander and his soldiers notice a horde of demons riding towards them. He realizes that their country is doomed because they are not strong enough to face the demons, and even if they send a request to the Earlshide Kingdom for backup, it will take a week for reinforcements to arrive. He summons all the magicians they have available and orders them to use their magic barrier to defend the walls of the castle from the demon attacks. They block the first wave of attacks from the demons thanks to the special defensive gear. Meanwhile, Shin and his group are flying towards the neighboring kingdom, and he is still cringing over the name Ultimate Magicians, especially because he knows that it is too late to change it now. While August teases him about it, Lin genuinely believes that is a good name. Maria flies to him and says that she is nervous about fighting a demon, but Shin tells her to cheer up because she is stronger than a demon now. He then asks Sicilian to stay behind and look after the injured instead of fighting. As for the others, Shin tells them to form pairs and take down demons one at a time. Soon, the kingdom comes into view, and it looks like it is already under siege by the demons. The demons keep blasting the town with attacks, playing with the civilians who are running for their lives. As a pair of demons is about to kill a woman and her daughter, Shin dropkicks him in the face and sends him flying. The demon's partner is furious at him for trying to fight against them, and he tells Shin that a mere human like him can't face them. He draws his weapon and begins releasing his magic, but then he pisses his pants as he sees Shin charging the blue flame cannon. With just one shot, Shin annihilates the demon, and in the meantime, Thor has taken care of the second one. After that, they help the mother and daughter get up and point them out towards the rescue center. Shin is furious as he looks around and sees death and destruction everywhere, but then he notices August and Maria on a high tower. August addresses the people of the country and tells them that they are reinforcements from the kingdom of Earlshide, and they are here to protect them from the demons. He then calls out to the demons and tells them to give up quietly, because they are up against the new hero Shin, who is famous for killing demons single-handedly. The people rejoice and cheer on hearing this, but the demons are even more eager to fight now. The group splits up into pairs of two and spreads all over the city. Shin tells Sicilian to go to the rescue center and heal people, and she asks him to stay careful too. None of them notice that Zest's assistant is lurking nearby, and he wants to test Shin's abilities. Meanwhile, Alice and Lin team up and find their first target using the search spell. They come across a demon who has hunted a group of knights without much difficulty. The demon mocks them for being flatter than a surfboard and asks if they are here to play with Barbie dolls or something. This infuriates Alice, and she walks ahead while activating her flame magic. However, Lin hits her with a water spell and puts out her fire, telling her that it is no time to get carried away by her emotions because they are dealing with a demon. Alice calms down and says that she will fight more patiently now, but Lin tells her that the demon is already dead. She hit him with a high-pressure water attack while Alice was distracted, and she ended his life in an instant. Suddenly, they hear the scream of a knight who is being tortured by a demon. The demon toys with the knight and then shoots a destructive attack at him, but Lin and Alice arrive there just in time and block it with her magic barriers. This demon also calls Alice flatter than an iPhone screen, so she snaps and hits him with a powerful fire spell that doesn't leave even his ashes behind. After that, they help the knight up, but he tells them that he is still fit enough to walk back to the rescue center by himself. With that, the girls decide to compete to see who can kill more demons. In another location, Julius blocks a demon trying to engage Thor in close combat, and when a second demon shoots his attack at them, Thor blocks it with his barrier. He simultaneously releases a wind blade to deal a deep wound to the demon. Thor asks the demon if they are doing this on Strom's order, but he refuses to talk and attacks him again. Thor uses a wind blade to land multiple slashes on him and bring him to his knees. He asks the demon why he and other demons are trying to ruin this country, and he responds that it is their basic instinct as demons to destroy things. He yells that they were filled with hatred for the nobility that oppressed them. And when they turned into demons, those feelings exploded and gave them the desire to destroy everything. He gets ready to fight again, but he and his partner are quickly defeated. In another location, two demons have cornered a few knights against the wall when suddenly, a magic circle appears under one of them. The unlucky demon freezes instantly, and his partner finds Yuri on a rooftop nearby. It's about to attack her, but then Tony rushes ahead with the ultrasonic blade and cuts both demons in one slash. At the same time, another team of demons has found out about the rescue center, and they decide to wreak havoc there. Mark is standing guard there, and he nervously holds a sword to face the demons. One demon rushes towards him, but then a huge concrete block hits him, and he is crushed underneath it. Olivia declares that she will protect her boyfriend, and the second demon tries to attack her, only to get incinerated by Mark, who declares that he will keep his girlfriend safe. The first demon gets up while cursing them, but they launch a combo attack to defeat him instantly. Inside the rescue center, Sicilian is struggling to heal the ever-increasing number of injured people. Meanwhile, Shin has been mopping the floor with demons and taking many of them out with each attack. They attack him from all sides, but he uses a variety of spells to completely annihilate them. Zest's assistant had been spying on him the entire time, and now he is sweating because Shin is much stronger than he could imagine. He was here to judge his weakness, but now he thinks that Shin is a monster without any weak points. In yet another location, August and Maria have cleared all the demons nearby when the leader of the demons arrives to face them. The demon thinks that the prince is the head of the group, and he wants to kill him to scare everyone away. August laughs as he takes the name of his group, Ultimate Magicians, before saying that he's not the leader. However, he agrees that if they take out the leader, the others will be demotivated, and he is going to do so to the leader of the demons. He challenges the demon to attack him first, but Maria suddenly launches a surprise attack on the demon. However, he defends himself using her sneak attack using two humans as his shield. The demon then tosses those two people towards them, and as Maria tries to dodge, he hits her with a powerful punch. Thanks to her special defensive armor, most of the damage from that punch is absorbed. Otherwise, Maria would have suffered multiple broken bones. The demon grabs her arm and yeets her into a wall, but she is still fine despite that. She inputs her magic into the uniform, and the wounds on her body begin to heal. The demon notices that and realizes that the parts not covered by the uniform are still vulnerable. Maria tells him that it is pointless, even if he has noticed that, and attacks him with a fireball, resulting in a huge explosion. She doesn't stop and keeps bombarding him with fireballs, but when the smoke clears, she finds that the demon is unharmed. He used a special defensive tool that he took away after defeating some magicians from the kingdom earlier. Both August and Maria realize that the defensive tool is quite strong, and the demon taunts them to try fighting him now. Maria and August give each other a glance and immediately run in opposite directions to flank the demon. August attacks him with lightning magic, but the demon easily blocks it using the tool, and then Maria attacks him from the other side. He keeps on blocking their relentless attacks, but soon starts losing confidence because his opponents don't seem to get tired at all. Suddenly, there is a lapse in his concentration and his barrier weakens. It shatters immediately after that, and he gets hit by Maria's fireball. As soon as the demon gets up after that attack, August hits him with a lightning spell and creates a perfectly circular hole in his chest. The demon dies with that, and August and Maria continue with their mission. Zest's assistant is shocked when he finds that not just Shin, but his entire team is strong enough to defeat demons, and he wonders how they can deal with him. Even Zest and Miria were hiding outside the castle, and they also think that Shin is too powerful for ordinary demons to deal with. They think that it is not wise to sacrifice any more troops, but getting them out is not going to be easy. That is why Miria takes it upon herself to distract the magicians and give the demons a chance to escape. She melts and blasts the heavy door protecting the city, and then causes serious explosions everywhere. Miria overwhelms the knights easily, and she's about to blow their commander into oblivion too, when suddenly Lynn and Alice arrive there. They block Miria's attack using their barriers and tell the knight commander to retreat as he will only slow them down. Miria stops her attack and asks the girls who they are. They get into a cringe-worthy pose and declare that they are the ultimate magicians. Lynn attacks Miria with her lightning magic, but she is too fast and dodges the attack easily. Alice attacks her next, but she blocks her fire attack using her magic barrier. Alice blasts her with the fire magic again, but Miria dodges it and attacks her from behind. Alice escapes without much damage and heals herself using her uniform. Miria is surprised to see the uniform, and then Alice attacks her again. She counters it with her attacks, and as Alice tries to guard against them, Miria slides under her and knocks her down. Lynn tries to attack her, but Miria holds Alice as a shield. On the other hand, Zest's assistant receives a message that this boss is here. He immediately orders all the demons to retreat, but they refuse to do so. Suddenly, Shin arrives there and burns one of them down with his blue flames, instilling terror in the hearts of other demons and forcing them to run. He keeps on attacking them as they run away, but then they get on the roofs. So Shin uses his floating magic to chase after them and then uses the pinpoint devastating attack to wipe them out. He swings the devastating beam to destroy all the demons, escaping by jumping over the wall, but is forced to stop the attack as it approaches some knights. Suddenly, he notices huge explosions in the distance. Miria is fighting against Lynn there, and thanks to having Alice hostage, she easily defeats her. Yuri and Tony have also reached there, and they decide to back them up. Yuri attacks Miria from behind, but she simply yeets Alice towards the attack. Alice uses her barrier to somehow protect herself from the attack, but that doesn't stop her from colliding headfirst with Yuri. They are knocked out, and Tony tries to cover for them with his ultrasonic blade. He swings it as Miria rushes at him, but she easily dodges his swing and disarms him before shattering his barrier. Miria launches a devastating attack at Tony point blank and slams him against the wall. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning comes towards her, but she dodges it and takes down Lynn by trapping her between rocks. Alice is back on her feet now, and she unleashes her magic to attack Miria. However, she points her next attack towards Tony, and Alice is forced to rush to defend him. As she uses her barrier to deflect Miria's attack, she is knocked out cold when a stone attack hits her stomach. Now only Yuri is left, and she trembles in fear as Miria approaches her. Suddenly, Shin arrives there and tells Miria to stop. She obliges and waits for him as he frees Lynn and heals her. Shin is furious as he sees his injured friends and asks Yuri to tend to them. Miria is curious to see how strong he is, and she charges towards him. Shin attacks her with his ultrasonic blade, but she easily dodges and encloses him in a stone prison. Shin cuts through it, only to find Miria charging at him. He blocks her attack using his barrier, resulting in a huge explosion. It is Shin's turn to counterattack, and Miria barely dodges a slash from his ultrasonic blade. Suddenly, August and others arrive to back up Shin, and Miria realizes that this is her chance to escape. She rushes away from Shin, grabbing Miria's face on the way and smashing her to the ground. Shin uses his jet boots to chase after her, but his path is blocked by an ice wall which was cast by Zest's assistant. He asks Miria to attack the magicians now that they are surrounded, and she takes to the sky, collecting an insane amount of magic power. Shin looks at his friends who are barely holding it together and thinks that they are all going to die if the attack hits them. He yells at August to protect others just as Miria unleashes her destructive attack on them. Everyone tries their best to protect themselves while Shin uses his full power to create a giant barrier to save everyone. He strains and pushes the explosion upwards, but when the smoke clears, he finds that the demons are gone. Thankfully, all his friends are still fine. They regroup and think that the woman demon must have been a high-level magician based on her strength. August is confused about the motive behind this attack and wonders what Strum is thinking. Shin believes that it was a good thing that he was not personally involved in this attack. Otherwise, things would have been dire for them. August tells everyone to rescue the people and look out for the demons, but advises them to be cautious this time. Shin and August then go to the rescue center and find that things are quite serious there. Apart from Sicilian, Mark and Olivia are also busy healing the injured people. They report that there are too many injured people, and Sicilian is healing the most serious ones inside. August decides to call everyone here to help with the treatment and asks Shin to support his girlfriend. Inside, Sicilian is reaching the end of her magic but still pushing forward to save the lives of anyone she can. She loses her magic powers soon and the treatment of her patient stops. She cries that there's nothing she can do for him since his injuries are so grave. Suddenly, she starts to strip, saying that her clothes are imbued with auto-healing magic, and if she dresses the patient in them, he might still be saved. However, Shin arrives there in the nick of time and covers her with his coat immediately. He tells her that his wounds are too serious to be healed by the uniform or her, but he believes that he can still save her. Shin uses a great deal of magic power to heal the man, and he is impressed that Sicilian managed to keep him alive for so long despite his serious wounds. He heals the injured organs one part at a time, and soon, the man's out of danger. As the patient's wife thanks Shin, Sicilian is overwhelmed with an inferiority complex. As they walk away from the room, she grabs Shin's uniform, saying that he is too awesome and that she can never do what he can. She starts crying while saying that she is as useless as Sakura and always has to rely on him, and he tells her that it is not true. Shin tells her that she is the reason the man is still alive, and he is not the only one. He points towards the people whom she saved, and they thank Sicilian, calling her a saintess. After that, the ultimate magicians meet King Swede, and he thanks them for saving his kingdom. August tells the king that some things about this incident don't sit well with him because he has no idea why Shrim would attack such a small nation after destroying the empire. He tells King Swede that Shin has fought Shrum before and drove him away, and that should make him aware of their power. That is why August wants to form an alliance with King Swede, and he agrees to help Earlshide in the future. After that, the group assembles together, and Shin thinks that they must be ready for another demon attack at any time. August was thinking the same thing, and they declared that they would protect the world together. Soon after that, they return to Earlshide's capital using the gate and find a party of knights and magicians waiting for them. They throw a party to celebrate the ultimate magicians who drove away the demons, and Shin gets headaches hearing the cringeworthy name he came up with. Soon, everyone else will also arrive there to congratulate them on their achievement. August tells his dad that he has a report about this matter and tells him about the alliance with King Swede. He then asks his father's permission to reach out to other nations about joining the alliance as well. The king grants him permission to contact each nation as his ambassador, and Shin receives permission from his grandparents to join August on his journey. May and Ellie declare that they will join them too, and while August is against it, his dad gives them permission. The next day, the ultimate magicians take off on their journey to save the world from the danger of demons. That's it for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe and watch this next video on screen.